Okay, here's the Moscone Center again. Here's where all the speakers are at. Here's the expo floor. I showed you expo floor, but the big deal for me was the Career Center underground here. I showed you the Career Center in the last video, but in this video, I want to talk about how do you show off to these people and get them to remember you. Like I said, sea of students, mostly students. Yeah, there's some long-time career professionals in there, but it's just students and students and students and students and students. And it makes you so dizzy. And How am I going to make my students stick out? Okay, obviously we need to compete. Let me show you what I did, and it worked rather well. Okay, here's a sampling of some of the people I saw on the Career Center floor. Lots of great students trying to get in industry. Totally fine. Here are mine. All right? Look at the difference here. Look at mine versus them. Mine, them. Mine, them. What do you notice? There's a stark contrast between my students and them. What is it? I'll tell you what we did. This was my idea. I said, you know what? We need to brand ourselves. This is Newmont University. We bought shirts for the students. Notice the nice business casual shirts. We branded them. We made our students look fine. Again, this student's now at Blizzard. This student's now at Havoc. This student's at IGT. This student's at Google. This student is at React Games. All right, need I say more? I'm sorry, I laugh. But I branded my students, and my students looked like professionals. All right, now, the game industry, believe me, when I worked at EA Games, my first day I showed up, business casual, dress down, button-up shirt, and my boss was in flip-flops and shorts and a T-shirt. And I said, obviously, I'm overdressed, okay? But when you're interviewing for a job, you need to dress up. And all these students on the floor don't realize it, but as soon as they walk into a booth, they are interviewing with the people in the booth. All right? They need to stick out, stand out, and be professional. And I hate to tell you this. I fought this forever. My mom would be like, my mom was a doctor, and she's like, Jamie, you got to dress up, you got to cut your hair, you got to look good, you got da-da-da. Like, Mom, people that judge me for my looks, I don't want to talk to them anyway. I want them to judge me for how awesome I am up here. Bad news. Guess what? Everybody judges you by looking at you and your appearance. Whether you like it or not, if you don't look the part, you're not going to get the part. All right? So if you want to be prideful like I was, be like, oh, no, I'm better than, no, okay? So even though all these students don't realize it, they're being judged as soon as they walk in. And so, oh yeah, culture is everybody on the floor looks like a schmo. All right? And I said, you know what? We're going to break that trend. We're going to break that trend. If we're actually doing job interviews, our students are going to walk in and they're going to look the part. They're going to look professional. And so here, we dressed them all up and they look great. And yeah, it felt a little awkward walking in, a little dressed up above everybody else. But you know what? We stuck out. All right? And not only did we stick out, it helped us get the talk, the interview. We could talk the talk, walk the walk. So now that we got past the whole dress up part, all right, we did the dress up. We look good. We're ready to interview. We're ready to talk to these people. My students had their best projects ready to roll. We brought some tablets with us. We brought our laptops. Every student had a kind of a different project they worked on, different things to show off. And so we had it there ready to show off. So as soon as we could open up in the booth and say, yeah, talk, and instead of handing that person another white paper resume, my students could pull out their tablet and be like, look, I worked on this game. Look at my awesomeness. Look, I worked on this and that, and I fought this hard engineering problem and blah, blah, and actually helped the artist here and da-da-da. And we'd have those kind of conversations. So immediately right there, we could show off, and we had the hardware and the electronics to do it. All right? It wasn't just, oh, well, let me just walk into your booth and we'll have a conversation. And hopefully by my mouth rambling on, you'll be impressed by me. No, we had the stuff there to impress them and show them. And different booths reacted differently to it, but for the most part, it worked well. All right, you dressed up, you look professional, and you have something to show that you did. And by the way, my students also had their online portfolios ready to go. You cannot break into this industry effectively without having an online portfolio, and that goes for engineers. You think, oh, portfolio, that's for artists. No, that's for engineers as well. Here's one of the online portfolios for John Pearl. He's my student that's working at Havoc now. And as soon as you come in, you can see, oh, you rendered that with this thing called Raypoint. Look, it actually looks somewhat professional here. Right? I know a lot of us are engineers. We don't have artistic skills. You can go poach a template, free templates online for an online portfolio. And so my students had this ready to go. When they'd walk into the booth, they could show off their stuff on the hardware. They say, oh, check out my online portfolio. And literally it's one click. Oh, portfolio. This is John's capstone project. He called it Raypoint. And very quickly, in very little text, he says Ray Marching solution built in C++, uses OpenCL Qt custom scripting language. I mean, pow, 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 right there. First thing he says on his portfolio is, here's an awesome image, and this is why it's awesome, and that's all you need to digest. Scroll down a little bit. There's a summary, and oh, there's his GitHub. You can pull all of his code down on GitHub. That's a nice thing. This is the modern day. This is how we apply for jobs, is you put your awesome projects on GitHub so they can pull down your code and look at your code and view the project, and it gives the hiring managers and the technical guys that might be interviewing you, give them a chance to see your code and see what you're capable of and how you code and that kind of thing. Oh, look at this. Number one is the eye candy. I'm going to click play here and let this thing scroll. This is his capstone project. Look how cool it was. It's kind of like ray tracing, but he uses ray marching, and he figured this all out on his own. I didn't teach him any of this. All right, he independently built this on his own. That's one thing I stress with my students, is that they are self-sufficient. They can do their own work. It's nice that I can come up with technical exercises and give them things to do. It's more important that they can go out and explore and proactively add value to whatever companies they're going to work for. And Jonathan is that type of student, and that's why he's working now at Havoc. Okay, they saw this value, and he built this video. Oh, look, and we can click on other things. Just very quickly, in about 30 seconds to a minute, someone can come to John's portfolio and be like, wow, I want to keep looking at this. There's more to view. There's more to engage with. There's more to see about this person. Let's bring them in and do a job interview with them. All right. Now, Jonathan is a super smart student of mine. All right. This portfolio is just as awesome as he is. All right. But even if you're half okay student, maybe you're not the rock star, but if you can sell yourself with a decent portfolio and show your best work, and your portfolio is nice and clean and works well, and your best work is actually decent enough to look at, you'll be fine. All right, you can turn some heads and work your way into some of these game companies. So key points: my students dressed up. They had their stuff ready to show right there as they walked into the booth. They had their online portfolios ready to show off. And then about the week after GDC, it's very critical to follow up with all your contacts there. What you'll find when you walk into a Career Center booth is you'll talk to them, and you got the HR person. Yes, be nice to the HR person. You need to make friends with the HR person, because the HR person will facilitate you talking with the other people in the booth. And then after the conference, they'll facilitate you talking to those people outside of the, at home at their own company and stuff. So you need to be friendly and make friends with the HR people. And then you just talk to the hiring managers. Guess what? Guess what? Every booth has 2 sets of cards. Right? And they're business cards. And one of the cards will say jobs at awesomecompany.com. And then the other card is their personal business card with their personal email and their personal phone number. Blah, blah. I'll tell you what, every single booth has this. Every single booth has this. There's the personal business card, where it's the direct contact information for that HR person or that hiring manager you're talking to. And there's also the card for jobs at whatever.com. You don't want the jobs at whatever.com, because everybody's going to get the jobs at whatever.com. Right? The company will filter you through, send 1,000 resumes to the jobs at whatever.com, because that's not in my face, and I'll look through that later and pick out the best ones and be done. And by the way, when you do send a resume or anything to that jobs at whatever.com, you got 5 to 10 seconds to impress that person. You better have a link to your portfolio first and front and center on your cover letter and on your resume, and right there in the email, embed that link. Anyway, you don't want that jobs at whatever. You want the other card. And I'd say about 95% of the time I could get that other card. And that was one of the fun points for me at GDC, was being able to get that other card, that personal business card. And the way I do it, it's just so fun. It's just so fun. One, I have a little bit of an advantage over students because I'm not a student. All right, I'm very non-threatening. I walk in, I say, my name's Jamie King, and I want to help people be awesome so you can hire them. So immediately I walk in and I state my mission, and my mission is to make their job easier. Oh, that's great. What school do you teach at? I teach at Newmont University, or I teach at University of Utah. Those are the 2 schools I do work for. Anyway, oh, well, and we talk. And they take me to the hiring manager. I'd ask the hiring manager, what do you want these guys to know? And they talk, and I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. What else? And what else? And they keep talking, and I learn so much. And I'd say, that's great. That's great. Hey, I would love to follow up with you after the conference and see what else there is. You know, have you look at some of my students' stuff. Tell me what they're doing good. Tell me what they're doing bad. People love giving feedback because it makes them feel like they're contributing and they're an authoritative figure on the topic, and they are. And so if you give them that due credit, say, hey, I'd really like to follow up with you. You know, do you got a card? Oh, yeah. Here. And usually what happened is they have a little place in the back of the booth. They wouldn't have their personal cards out right there to pull out. It'd be like in the back of the booth. Sometimes they'd have to open a door to this special section of the booth. They go in there, they grab their personal card, they bring it out, and they'd hand it to me. I'm like, oh, thank you. And I'd end up with hundreds of cards, and I end up keeping the ones that really were going places. Look, here's somebody. I mean, if you look at these cards, I got all these cards, and I don't want to give away any names or anything. But look, here's Blizzard, here's Sony, Zynga. Zynga used to be a thing, right? Didn't they? Are they still a thing? Here's Amazon, all right? And anyway, just awesome, cool companies, awesome people to talk to. It's just fun. Now, one key thing I would do, every booth I talked to and every person I talked to, after they told me everything they wanted to know and everything they wanted to see inside of somebody interviewing at their company, basically they were giving me the answers to the test to get into their company. As soon as I was done talking to them, I'd run around the corner of the booth, or I'd go find a discreet place to hide. And I did this in every single booth, and I took notes like mad. I'd pop out my phone and be like, okay, this is the person's name, this is what they want, this is what they talked about, take notes. I got pages and pages of notes in my phone about what different companies wanted to see in their employees. And so I could have any of my students say, oh, I'm interested in doing mobile apps, or I'm interested in doing some UI stuff. And I'm like, I remember I talked to somebody at GDC that works at this company, and they mentioned that, and they mentioned how they wanted people to apply and what they would impress that person at that company. And so let me contact that person. Let's get your ducks in a row, set up your portfolio front and center, your best work of, let's say UI, for example. You know, some people like to do UI, so whatever. You want to do UI, great. Put your UI stuff up there, and I'll talk to so-and-so at this hot, awesome company, because I remember I'll email them again and say, hey, look, here's a student that da-da-da-da-da, and the person who talked to me at really cool, awesome company, they forgot that they told me basically the answers to their test. And even if they did remember, they don't care, because they'd be impressed and be like, wow, this faculty member came in and listened to everything I said, and they implemented it on their end, and they're bringing me somebody who can solve my problem. That I'm trying to hire someone with this particular skill. All right, so I got pages and pages of notes. In future videos, I'll read some of these notes to you and let you know. Some booths, honestly, there was a common theme. 2014 when I went, C++. Heard so much C++ in 2014. 2015, heard a lot of C++ still, but there were other themes. And so, yeah, most of the booths, there's a common theme, something you'll hear over and over in the other booths. But you'll also get kind of corner cases. Hey, I'm looking for this particular thing or that particular thing. And so I jot that down. And then I would go and find my student that was best at whatever that was, and have my student contact that person. And if I could find that student on the floor, I'd bring them over back to the booth and say, hey, this student has something on their tablet. They can show you off on their tablet or on their laptops. Laptops can be kind of bulky, but sometimes we had to have the laptop to show off the bigger features. And say, look, my student did this. Talk to him. Hey, please take my student in the back of your booth right now, shut that door, and give him a tech interview, and then tell me how the student did. And the student would go back with the person in the booth, and the person would drill them technically and say, hey, da-da-da-da-da, and they'd have this interview. And then they'd come out, and I say, okay, great. How did my student do? Tell me, where am I lacking? Where do I need to prep my students better at? And they give me some direct feedback, and I love it, and I go back and I implement it back in my own teaching. So yeah, for sure. Take notes. And then another thing I'd do always when I was done talking to somebody, I'd look them up on LinkedIn. And by the way, if you go look at my LinkedIn on my homepage on my YouTube, you can click, and I got the LinkedIn link, and you can look at my LinkedIn, and it's got everything awesome on there. And I got basically my LinkedIn is up to snuff. My ducks are in a row on my LinkedIn. So what I do is after I was done talking to that person, I'd look them up on LinkedIn on my phone. You know what's cool about connecting with somebody with LinkedIn on at least the iPhone version is it doesn't ask if you know the person. All right, if you go online and you look them up and you click connect, it says, how do you know this person? Enter their email address, or are they a colleague at where you work at, or da-da-da-da-da. You know, LinkedIn doesn't want you to just ask anybody randomly. And so what I would do is obviously, if I just met the person in a booth and it was my first time connecting with them, I can't connect with them on my laptop. So I looked them up on my phone, and the app, you just hit plus connect, and it sends out an invitation, doesn't even ask for any verification stuff. So dirty, so naughty. But I didn't feel that bad about it because I just barely met them, and I wanted them to remember me. And also, if you look at my LinkedIn picture, I should do video on how to set up your LinkedIn correctly. But basically, you want your brand to be something that somebody remembers in a pleasant way, in a nice way. You don't want your brand, your personal brand. By the way, everybody's got a personal brand. You want your brand to be like, yeah, I really enjoyed interacting with that person on the floor, and I remember them, and they kind of got a cool picture, or a quirky, a professional picture. I don't even remember what I have up for my LinkedIn right now. I'm going to look. Well, on my LinkedIn here, I have the same picture I have on the YouTube channel. So, it's fun. It's kind of quirky. I don't know if it's professional enough for my LinkedIn. I like that people can look at this and be like, oh, this is a little different in a pleasant way, but it's a little different from everybody else. And so, oh, yeah, you're the dude that wore some people say, oh, this is the Asian hat. I'm like, no, that's not an Asian hat. That's my laptop. But, yeah, you're the dude that has something on your hat. And I remember we had a good positive experience with each other, and let's keep talking after. Anyway, so click. Here, let's do an invite on the phone. Phone doesn't verify. Now, don't abuse that privilege. All right, I know I just said that on YouTube, how to connect with people in industry using your phone without verifying that you actually know them. All right, don't abuse. I need some more water. Don't abuse this option because the app is smart and people will deny you. Be like, I don't know who this freak is. Deny. And then you get enough of that, the app won't let you even invite people that you do know. So don't abuse that, okay? Anyway, I ramble. It's fun, and I get those personal business cards, and I'd follow up with people. And not everybody was super receptive after the conference, but if you can get 5 to 10 good contacts, dude, that's way better than 100 contacts that aren't getting anywhere, right? If you can make 5 to 10 solid contacts, and by making those contacts, you follow up with them the week after GDC. I wouldn't do the Monday, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday after GDC. Let them get home, let them get settled, let them breathe a little bit. And say, hey, here's a link to my online portfolio. Remember we had this talk. I showed you my tablet or my computer with my awesome project on it, awesome game I worked on with other people. And then you just take the conversation from there. So that's worked out really well for me. And then if you can maintain those 5 to 10 solid contacts you get out of probably the 100 cards you'll bring home from GDC, you can maintain that throughout the year and then plan to follow up with them the next year. Say, hey, are you going to GDC again this year? I'd love to come and show you what I've done this whole year and show you my cool projects and blah, blah, blah. And you can show that all to them and build that relationship. That's going to help you get into industry. Okay, if you can interview well and do well, yeah, you might get in there. But I've found it super hard for students to get into industry compared to software engineering industry. The software engineering industry, you just need a heartbeat and breathing in a computer science degree, low-level company. Yeah, go ahead and get your job. You'll be fine. But you want to work at a rock star software engineering company or a game company, people are lining up at the doors to get in. And so you got to be awesome. It's not that hard to be awesome, but it does take a ton of effort. Okay, hard to me sounds like it's impossible. No, challenging. I will say it's challenging. It takes hours of your time to get all those ducks in a row so you can go in and be like, bam, talk to me. I'm awesome. I want to make your company awesome. I want to help you guys get done whatever it is you're trying to get done. So, I'm rambling, but it was a huge ego stroke for me to gain these contacts and then hook my students up and watch my students ride off into the sunset. And it's like, yeah, that's what we worked for. That's what we pounded for. That's what we cried for. That's what you coded till you bled for. And we went and worked the system at the Game Developers Conference, and you got in. Cool.